Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at the brand new Nanmu release, the 2019 Berzerker Raptor. This is the second release from Nanmu as far as these more widely distributed individual figures. They did have some resin models a while back before they started making these, so it's not technically Nanmu's second release, it's just the second release in this style. The Jurassic World / Jurassic Park style. Actually, come to think of it, it's mostly all Jurassic World, honestly, so it's kind of a mixture of human Jurassic Park characters and Jurassic World dinosaurs. But regardless, as I said, this is the Berzerker Raptor, which is basically just the Indoraptor. That's their version of the Indoraptor and their way of hiding it. Obviously, for copyright purposes, they can't make an actual Indoraptor, but they can make this, which is the Berzerker Raptor, that is just heavily influenced, I guess, by the Indoraptor. As you can see, there are two boxes here, which means there are two different versions of this figure. There is the regular Indoraptor color scheme, and there is a more whitish color scheme. The boxes are both actually very nicely done, but they have different artwork on the front of both. It's kind of confusing, though, to be able to tell which one is in which box. I guess we'll just have to open them up to find out for sure. But as you can see, the artwork on the front is really, really beautiful looking. On the sides, we have just the Nanmu information stating that it is a Berzerker Raptor. And then on the back, just this little bit of information here that I can't read because, unfortunately, I can only read English. And this box is exactly the same. Same deal. Very nicely done, though, as far as the outer box and how nicely it looks. So let's open them up. As you can see, once you do open the box, it's very nice and very safely packaged and protected in a foam cage, basically. And you get this very nice looking image here of the Indoraptor that comes inside. And then on the back, again, some more stuff that I unfortunately cannot read, but I'm sure it's very interesting. And then if we actually open the cage, as I put it, there is our figure hiding in there with Alan Grant, who is the figure that comes with this one. John Hammond came with the actual Indominus Berserker Rex. This one is the Berzerker Raptor, comes with Alan Grant. And let's pull these figures out, and then we'll take a look at them. So there we are. There are our Nanmu Berzerker Raptors, and you can see that they both include an Alan Grant, so no matter which version you get, you will get an Alan Grant figure, which actually, now that I have two, I am very heavily influenced into painting one to actually have real paint on it, because honestly, I think it looks very nice as far as the sculpt and everything, but you can't really tell just how nice without paint, so I'm probably going to paint one of those up at one point, and definitely see just how nice the overall sculpt and appearance of the human characters are that come with these Nanmu Raptors. And I would love to paint the John Hammond that came with the Indominus Rex, but I don't know, I always have this big problem with wanting to keep the original figures, and if I have a double, then I'll repaint it, so I don't know, maybe eventually I'll do that. It depends on how nice I can get the Alan Grant to look, I guess. But regardless, we are here to look at the figures up close, so let's do that now. So as far as the sculpt of the two figures, both of them are the exact same sculpt, so we really only have to look at the sculpt of one, but we will take a look at both of the figures just because that's the way it works. If we look up here at the head sculpt does look very, very nice. I feel like there's not maybe as much sculpt and detail on the face as there was on the Indominus, but this is also a much smaller head sculpt, so that may be why. Overall, though, it does look very, very nice. I feel like it's not overly sculpted, but it's definitely sculpted enough that it really looks quite beautiful. The teeth appear to be colored with a very nice, very natural and realistic color, similar to what you saw in the actual film. The eyes also appear to be painted very nicely. I think the eyes look quite beautiful, and they do have a nice gloss, making them shine and have a genuine, realistic, wet look like an eye would have. Inside the mouth, as they do have an articulated jaw, you can see the tongue and everything in there. Very nicely colored as far as the coloration that they chose on the inside of the mouth. I think it looks very natural, very real. I love the fact that they actually added alternate color to the tongue. It's kind of got like a striping effect in there, which helps to give it a little bit more, as far as realism, not such blah, regular paint. It just definitely makes it look a little more real. However, I will say there is a very nice gloss on the inside of the mouth, similar to what we saw in the Indominus Rex, and on the teeth, again making the teeth look very real and genuine. but on the tongue there's not quite as much of a gloss as I see on the bottom and the upper part of the mouth, which is kind of strange, but it still looks pretty darn good. It doesn't look quite as good, I would say, as the Indominus Rex did on the inside of his mouth, but overall it does still look very, very nice, and the teeth themselves are pretty sharp. So if you do buy this, just be careful with the mouth, because that's one thing that Nanmu does not skimp out on, is the realism of their figures as far as their claws being sharp and the teeth being sharp. They are actually genuinely pretty sharp, so you do have to be careful. As we start to run down the neck, you can see that that very large scaling and armored type of an appearance that the Indoraptor has on the upper side does start to form, and it looks very nice. It kind of looks like maybe they dry brushed like a brownish coloration, maybe like a very light brown over the top of it to really give it some nice color tone, but also to really make the detail pop on the top of the figure. And you can also see that this orange type of a color runs the length here of the side upper part of the back. It looks very nice as well. The overall detailing in this area looks really, really nice. There are all sorts of cracks and creases all throughout the armored type of an area. It looks very, very good. As we take a look at the neck, there are all sorts of different sized scales, and it looks really nice. Lots of skin folds here in the neck. There isn't too much going on as far as the wrinkling of the skin or anything in the neck of the Indoraptor, because it's got its head straight out. It's really just got maybe a slight left turn, but for the most part its neck is pretty straight, so you wouldn't see too much as far as that going on. You can also take note that that stripe, that trademark stripe the Indoraptor is known for, similar to blue, but in a fiery type of a look with the yellow and the orange starts to appear. And I think that the overall appearance of the stripe really is beautiful on this. They've actually hit the nail straight on the head as far as the coloration goes on it, and I think it looks exactly as you see on the Indoraptor in the film of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. As you do come back the neck, you get to the shoulder area. You can see the shoulder blade a little bit there, but as you come down, you can take note of some very nice musculature here in the left arm. There is a seam right here on the arm, and it's pretty visible. It's actually a little more visible, I think, than we saw on the Indominus, but because of it being a blackish coloration, it's pretty hard to pick up on the seam. As you come down, you can really take note again of the musculature here in the forearm, and then you come down into the Indoraptor's hands, which really look quite nice, as do the nails. Even the underside looks very good. You can also see here, it's a little hard to tell because this arm's back a little bit and the leg is up here a little bit, but you can take note of the rib cage there on the Indoraptor, so that looks very nice. You can also kind of take note to the way the skin is just moving with the dinosaur's movement, so that looks very cool as well. And that stripe continues to run down here behind the leg. Very nice scaling as we run back the body here. We get into the hip area. You can see the very nice musculature here in the thigh. It's very, very strong. And then we come down and we can again take note of a seam, and this one actually looks a little worse than it looks on the arm, but it's not too bad. Just I think because it's such a dark coloration, you can't really tell so much, but it is definitely visible. Then we move down here into the calf. Very nice muscular calves, and the very nice scaling that runs down the length of the leg here. You can see the scales are all sorts of different sizes, so they've done an absolutely beautiful job on the overall sculpting of the scales. Very nice foot sculpt, and the nails also have a very nice paint that's kind of been dry brushed over them, giving them a very realistic look. I really quite like the nails. I think that looks very nice. Beautiful sickle claw there as we see on the Indoraptor. And then we come up here into the tail. You can see some skin folds here right behind the tail, kind of showing the movement of the leg pulling up away from the tail. And then we run out the length of the tail, and the tail looks really nice as far as the scales and everything go. They really look quite beautiful. That nice stripe runs out to almost the end of the tail and then ends, and it ends in a very nice curve. Really beautiful looking. And then if we take a look at this side again, it's all pretty much the same as far as the head sculpt and neck sculpt looks on this side. It really is beautifully done and just looks absolutely fantastic. We come down into the arm. The arm here is in a different position slightly than the other arm, so it does look very nice though. You can see beautiful musculature there. Again, you can pick up on the seam, but I think the seam is a little, it's kind of tough to tell if you would say that's a little better hidden over here, or if it's just a little bit worse, actually. I can't really tell. It's just kind of, I guess, up to you. You can see some nice musculature again in the arm here, and then we move down into the hands, The hands look very, very nice. And again, similar to the feet, you can see that they've dry brushed a little bit of like a brownish coloration, like a light brown or like a raw sienna type color on top of the nails. You can see it on this hand and on this hand, just to really bring out the detail of the nails and make it look very, very nice and realistic. We move back here into the body. You can again take note of the rib cage there, which is really beautifully and very subtly showing. It looks honestly like it actually has ribs and this is just skin, so they've done a really nice job with that. Again, the beautiful scale work just looks fantastic. You can see the skin reacting here to the leg pulling back, so that's really beautiful attention to detail with the way the animal would be moving. Very nice musculature here again in this rear leg. As we come down, you can see the seam again here at the leg, and this one is definitely pretty visible. The seams on the Indoraptor is definitely a lot worse than you saw on the Indominus, but I don't think it really takes away from the figure too much. And then we come down, and I really love the way that this is sculpted with the way the leg is moving. It genuinely looks very real. Nice sickle claw again, beautiful foot sculpt. And in general, this whole thing looks really beautiful. Nice dew claw there and everything. We come back up here into the tail, and the tail looks just like it did on the opposing side. Really nice scaling. They've included a very nice wash on the figure to really help the scales and everything pop at you and jump out at you, especially in the stripe area where the coloration is a little bit lighter, and then it runs out to that very nice curve. The underbelly and everything look very nice as well. Really beautiful sculpt work, and it kind of appears that maybe they've done a dry brushing again of that light brown on the underneath just to give it a little bit of variation of color and not just be full-blown black. But overall, it looks very nice. And then here is the gray, whitish version, whatever one you want to call it. And I really think this one looks super creepy. The overall coloration of this is really beautiful. It's really nicely applied and very similar to the Indominus as far as the way that their Indominus was colored. I really like the coloration of the teeth. Again, they're not a bright white or anything. They're more almost like yellow, and that's very similar to what you actually see in the movie. I think that is really beautifully done, and they definitely look very realistic and quite genuine. The inside of the mouth is very similar to the other one. You can really get an idea of the incredible sculpt work of the inside of the mouth looking right up there inside. And the tongue again has that same similar appearance kind of with the striping. I think the coloration of the inside of the mouth on this one is a slightly different shade than you saw on the black version. And again, the teeth have a very nice gloss to them, making them look very real. Beautiful nostrils sculpted out up here. The eyes again look very, very nice on this one. They're a different coloration as far as the eyes go. I think they're just a white with maybe a little bit of red and then a black pupil. But one thing that's actually really cool, I don't know if I can really zone in on this enough to see it and focus on it. If you look behind the white part of the eye, it's actually like a reddish color, which really makes the entire thing look so much more real. It's really kind of hard to pick up on it, but I think that is really nice touch on the part of Nanmu. I think that's very cool. So you can see then that there's like primarily like a whitish color with some gray that seems to have been applied through a wash that really helps to bring out all the detail. It's got some nice dark coloration around the eye to again help elaborate the eye. This almost looks like a zombie version of an Indoraptor. And then you can see a very faint stripe kind of pick up that's almost like a light orange or like a light brown, but it actually kind of picks up here in the mouth a little bit, which is up further than you see on the actual black Indoraptor, but you can see it here very, very subtly applied. It's very light, but I think it looks really cool because of that. It's not overbearing or anything, and you can really get a better idea of the actual detailing and everything on this one, considering the fact that all the detail has kind of been brightened up with the lighter color and the nice wash and the white coloration. You can get a better idea of all the scales and everything and how really beautiful they look. Nicely painted nails here on the front of the hand. You can see the seam a lot better on this one than you could see it on the black version, which is a little disheartening, but it's not that bad. And the same coloration with this whitish, grayish type color really is pretty much everywhere. You can see a little bit of brown applied to the foot. The nails are again painted very nicely. No sloppiness whatsoever. The seam on this leg is actually pretty bad looking. You can actually see it come out away from the body a little bit there. So I think Nanmu should definitely work on the seams of their figures. That's one thing that they could definitely improve on for the future. But it's not terrible. It's just something that, you know, could definitely benefit from a little improvement. And then you see that light stripe run the entire length of the tail, actually almost all the way to the very end, similar to the black version. And this side has pretty much the same ordeal, all that same coloration, but really looks beautiful. And as I said, you can get a better idea of the actual sculpting and everything on this side. You can again pick up on the seam pretty badly here in the leg, not so bad in the arm a little bit, but that leg is definitely very visible. Even from a distance you can really quite see the seam, but it's not, again, the end of the world. It's not that bad. The body parts do have to connect somehow. I just think they could improve a little bit on that, but overall, I think this is also a very appealing and very cool Indoraptor figure. And then here is a quick glance at Alan Grant. You can't really pick up on too much of the detail or anything, or the sculpt, because he has this whitish coloration. It really kind of just drowns out the detail, but I will be sure to let you guys see this if I do get around to repainting him at some point, just to see how nice the Alan Grant can look. It's obviously a throwback to Alan Grant holding the flare when the Tyrannosaurus Rex has escaped its paddock in Jurassic Park, so I absolutely love any kind of throwback like this. As far as the tail goes, the tail actually is a little bit flexible, but it doesn't really go very far, and it kind of just falls right back into the position that it was in, similar to what we saw on the Indominus Rex that they had released, where you can bend the tail, and it does articulate a little bit, but it kind of just goes right back into the position that it was in, which I'm fine with. It has a very beautiful look to it, a very nice curl to it and everything, and it has a very striking appearance to it. As far as the size goes, on our Nanmu Indoraptor, from the head to the tail, you are looking at about 8 3/4 inches, or about 22, about 22 centimeters long, and the highest point would be the hip region. You're looking at about 3 inches, or about 7.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is our friend the Papo T-Rex, and you can see that he is a good bit larger than these Indoraptors, but considering the Indoraptor isn't the largest dinosaur in Jurassic history, it makes sense for it to be a smaller figure, and overall I think it's very nicely sized. It's pretty much a perfect size for an Indoraptor, but you can really get an idea of the size next to Mr. Papo Rex. And for another size comparison, here is the Nanmu Indominus Berserker Rex, and you can again really see that these kind of look to be to scale, honestly, with each other. I think that they are really nicely sized, so that is definitely a plus. It seems as though Nanmu is kind of making their figures all in scale to each other, which is something that I definitely highly love. I think that is absolutely awesome, and even the human characters actually probably would be about a correct size, so that's really, really cool overall to keep everything in the same size group with each other. I definitely very highly approve of that. So the Nanmu Berzerker Raptor is definitely a very, very nice figure. I think overall the sculpting and everything on it just looks really beautiful. I think they pretty much hit the nail on the head as far as the sculpt goes of the Indoraptor. You will notice that there is a lack of quills as far as the Indoraptor having quills on its arm and behind its head and everything, but these figures are pretty small. I mean, they're not small, but they're too small that I think you would have a good chance of adding quills onto it. The Indominus Rex that they had released also was missing the quills, so it's not really too shocking that the Indoraptor itself would be missing them, and I'm completely okay with that because the quills adding onto dinosaurs are something that's really hard to keep on. I have a Dinosaurus, a Margosaurus, and even the little spines on the back of that always broke on me, so I feel like it's probably better when it comes to a figure like this to just completely ignore the quills and go the route that they had. So I think that was a good choice on their part. The overall sculpting, like I said, really looks spot on to the Indoraptor. I think they've done an absolutely beautiful job as far as the sculpt goes, the realism factor of their figures as far as adding a gloss and everything to the teeth and the eyes and the mouth. All look really, really nice. Not quite as nice as we saw on the Indominus, but very nice nonetheless. And the paint jobs both look, again, spot on. I think the black version of the Indoraptor is exactly as you see in the film. Perfectly colored, especially with that beautiful orange and yellow stripe. I think they've done a fantastic job. So overall, I think the entire thing is just awesome. The addition of an Alan Grant figure just takes the entire set over the top for me into new heights of awesomeness, because I love having an Alan Grant, especially to scale with these other figures. It's really cool to mix up Jurassic Park and Jurassic World all in one set here with the amazing Alan Grant figure. Again, something that I'm probably going to repaint, and everybody else that decides to buy both of these will have a chance to repaint as well, because you'll get 2 Allen Grants as one comes with each figure. Again, very nicely done. The only thing I could suggest Nanmu would maybe to be improving on the seams, as the seams are a little bit iffy and a little distracting in certain areas, but they're not anything terrible and anything that I think should deter you from buying this figure, because they are overall absolutely fantastic looking Indoraptor figures. So if you do want to buy them, I will throw a link in the description to Aliexpress where I purchased mine. I will also link you guys to Dino World on Facebook, because he is a seller of the Nanmu figures as well. Very trustworthy and an absolutely awesome dude to talk to. So either way, check one of those 2 places, purchase yourself some incredible Indoraptor figures from Nanmu, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.